The phone rang at 3:47 a.m. in Lady C.'s London townhouse. On the other end, a voice she hadn't heard in years delivered news that would shatter the carefully constructed narrative of Prince Harry's post-royal life. A new girlfriend, but not just any woman. Someone who had been quietly orbiting the Sussexes' inner circle for months, hidden in plain sight. As Lady C pieced together the fragments, one detail made her pause. This wasn't a casual romance. This was a calculated secret with implications that reached far beyond the tabloids. Before we uncover what really happened, tell us in the comments, what do you think is the biggest misunderstanding about this story? The stillness of a London night is rarely broken by anything more urgent than a passing siren or the distant hum of city life. But at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, Lady Colin Campbell's phone cut through the silence with a jarring persistence. She reached for it groggily, expecting bad news, the kind that comes at that hour. What she heard instead was far more complicated. A source she had trusted for decades, someone who had never led her astray, was whispering urgently about Prince Harry. Not about Meghan. Not about royal feuds or memoir fallouts. About someone new. A woman who had been quietly inserted into Harry's life during one of his most vulnerable periods, while the world was distracted by other headlines. The source described her as elegant, intelligent, and above all else, discreet. Someone who moved in circles so exclusive that even seasoned royal journalists had failed to notice her presence. Lady C sat up in bed, her mind racing through the possibilities. She had spent years chronicling the inner workings of the royal family, understanding their rhythms, their secrets, and their carefully maintained illusions. This felt different. This felt like a story that had been deliberately buried beneath layers of misdirection. The source claimed that Harry and this woman had been in contact for over 8 months, meeting in locations so carefully chosen that even palace security wouldn't have raised immediate red flags. Private dinners in Edinburgh, a weekend in the Swiss Alps, a quiet afternoon at a friend's estate in the English countryside. But what made Lady C.'s blood run cold was not the affair itself, it was the timing. These encounters allegedly took place during periods when Harry was publicly presenting a united front with Meghan, attending high-profile events, and speaking about their unbreakable bond in interviews. If true, it would suggest that the narrative the couple had so carefully constructed was built on foundations far less stable than anyone had imagined. The source offered one more piece of information before the call ended. This new woman had something in common with another figure in Harry's past, a quality that Lady C immediately recognized as both fascinating and deeply troubling. She wouldn't reveal it over the phone. "You'll understand when you see her," the source said. And then the line went dead. Lady C sat in the darkness, her phone still warm against her ear. She had broken royal stories before, but this one carried a weight that felt different. This wasn't a scandal in the traditional sense. It was a revelation that could rewrite the story of Harry's entire post-royal journey. The question was whether she should pursue it, and if she did, what it would cost. If you're enjoying this story, subscribe so you never miss our next documentary. The identity of the woman at the center of Lady C.'s revelations remains one of the most closely guarded secrets in royal gossip circles. What the source whispered to Lady C during that 3:47 a.m. call was that this woman was not a stranger to Harry's world. She moved in the same elite circles, attended the same private events, and shared friendships with some of the same people who had been part of Harry's life long before Meghan entered the picture. According to the claims that surfaced on the Nerve podcast on July 23rd, the woman is described as being Prince Harry's age and residing in Montecito, the same California enclave where the Sussexes have built their post-royal life. This proximity makes the alleged situation all the more shocking. If true, it would mean Harry had been living in the same community, attending the same local functions, and moving through the same social circles as someone with whom he had developed a secret connection, all while maintaining his public image as a devoted husband. Lady C, in her appearance on the Dan Wootton Uncensored podcast, went further, claiming that Harry has met someone with whom he is in love and who is in love with him. These are strong words from a woman who has spent decades navigating the treacherous waters of royal gossip, often with surprising accuracy. But as the source told Lady C, the most revealing detail about this woman was not her name or her background. It was a quality she shared with someone from Harry's past, a similarity that Lady C immediately recognized as both fascinating and potentially devastating for the Sussexes' carefully constructed narrative. What we do know from independent sources is that insiders close to the couple have strongly denied these allegations, insisting there is no truth to the claims and that Meghan and Harry remain firmly united despite the noise. One insider pointed out that Lady C has a history of making controversial claims about the couple, including the allegation that Meghan didn't give birth to either Archie or Lilibet. That history, the source suggested, may explain why these latest claims have spread so quickly online, even as those close to the couple dismiss them as baseless. But as Lady C herself has argued in her YouTube commentary, her track record of breaking royal stories speaks for itself. She has previously revealed details about the inner workings of the royal family that later proved accurate, earning her a reputation as someone who operates at the intersection of high society gossip and genuine insider knowledge. If you're enjoying this story, subscribe so you never miss our next documentary. The chapter concludes with a seamless transition into the next installment, where we will examine the timeline of these alleged encounters and the moments when Harry was supposedly seen with this mystery woman encounters that, if proven true, would rewrite the history of his post-royal journey. If Lady C's claims are to be believed, this wasn't a sudden, impulsive connection. The timeline she and her sources have pieced together suggests something far more calculated. A relationship that developed gradually over months, concealed within the very fabric of Harry's Californian existence. The first alleged encounter reportedly took place in late 2025 at a private gathering in Montecito. The woman, described as being Harry's age and moving in the same elite social circles, was introduced through mutual friends. According to the claims, there was an immediate recognition, a connection that went beyond casual conversation. What made this significant was that Harry was seen out and about with this woman on multiple occasions, always in settings where discretion was guaranteed. Private dinners, exclusive events, the kind of places where phones are checked at the door and conversations stay within the room. By early 2026, the relationship had allegedly deepened. The source who spoke to Lady C described encounters that were not just friendly but carried an unmistakable emotional weight. This was the period when, according to the claims, Harry found himself caught between his public obligations and a private connection that was becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. It was during this time that Meghan reportedly discovered something that would shatter her trust. The discovery, as Lady C and her co-host Maureen Callahan discussed on the Nerve podcast, came through text messages. Meghan allegedly found damning exchanges on Harry's phone, messages that confirmed not just communication, but a level of intimacy that could not be explained away as mere friendship. The timing of this discovery, according to insiders, coincided with a period of increasing tension in the Sussex household, as the couple grappled with financial pressures, legal battles, and the challenges of building their independent brand. But perhaps the most revealing detail to emerge from Lady C's investigation was the identity of the woman herself. She is, according to reports, someone who understands discretion, a woman of means, power, and social standing who knows how to navigate the treacherous waters of high society. This is not a random encounter. This is a woman who belongs to Harry's world, who understands the rules of the game, and who, like Harry himself, has learned to operate in a world where privacy is a precious commodity. What remains unclear is the extent of this relationship. Was it a brief emotional entanglement, or something more enduring? Lady C has suggested it was a genuine love connection, describing Harry as being in love with this woman. But without concrete evidence, the truth remains elusive. And the question that hangs over this entire narrative is one that neither Lady C nor her sources can definitively answer. If these allegations are true, what does it mean for Harry's marriage, his family, and his carefully constructed post-royal identity? If this story surprised you, share it with someone who would enjoy uncovering forgotten Hollywood stories. While the allegations spread like wildfire across social media and tabloid headlines, one voice remained conspicuously absent from the conversation: the palace itself. And that silence, for those who understand the rhythms of royal strategy, spoke volumes. The reaction from within the Sussex camp, however, tells a more complex story. Insiders close to the couple have pushed back firmly, dismissing Lady C's claims as baseless and insisting that Harry and Meghan remain firmly united. One source pointed to Lady C's controversial history, noting that she has previously made outlandish claims, including questioning whether Meghan gave birth to either of her children, a theory that has been widely debunked. The implication was clear. If Lady C has been wrong before, why trust her now? But the damage had already been done. The claims gained traction not because of Lady C's reputation alone, but because they tapped into a growing narrative that the Sussexes' marriage was under strain. Reports had already surfaced suggesting that the couple had been living separate lives, attending events independently and navigating their professional projects on parallel tracks. Harry's trip to the UK to promote the Invictus Games, for instance, was undertaken without Meghan, fueling speculation about their priorities and partnership. What makes the palace's silence particularly notable is the contrast with their past handling of similar rumors. When Meghan was first introduced to the royal fold, the palace moved quickly to manage narratives. Now, there is a studied indifference, a refusal to dignify the allegations with a formal denial. According to insiders, this is partly because Harry has reportedly been advised against engaging with the low-level gossip, preferring to rise above it rather than give it oxygen. Meghan, however, is said to be far less willing to let the accusations slide. Those close to her suggest she is ready to fight back, frustrated that Lady C continues to target their family with impunity. The timing of these revelations has only added to the tension. Just weeks earlier, tensions had flared between the couple over Meghan's decision to post photos from their private visit to Princess Diana's grave at Althorpe Estate, a deeply personal moment that Harry reportedly wished to keep out of the public eye. For those watching closely, this was not just a disagreement. It was a sign of deeper fractures in how the couple navigated their public and private lives. And then came the legal blow. Harry was reportedly hit with a substantial financial judgment in his privacy case against the Daily Mail's publishers, leaving him with a legal bill in the tens of millions. The financial strain, combined with the emotional toll of the allegations, created a perfect storm that left the couple more vulnerable than ever before. But beyond the palace walls and the Sussexes' California estate, another question lingered, one that Lady C herself has been reluctant to fully answer. Who exactly is this woman? And what is it about her that has drawn Harry's attention so completely? If this story surprised you, share it with someone who would enjoy uncovering forgotten Hollywood stories. The investigation took a darker turn when Lady C and her co-host Maureen Callahan delved deeper into the timeline of the alleged affair. What they uncovered was not just a story of infidelity, but a portrait of a man who, according to one commentator, may be learning that he is his father's son in ways he never anticipated. The parallel was impossible to ignore. Prince Harry had spent years watching his father, King Charles, navigate the devastating fallout of his marriage to Princess Diana while finding comfort in another woman. Now, as Lady C's sources described the unfolding drama in Montecito, the echoes of that history became unmistakable. Perhaps now he understands what it's like to be trapped in an unhappy marriage and the comfort that one can find, especially living in the gilded cage in which he does live, one commentator observed during the Nerve podcast discussion. But what shook Lady C most was the response from the Sussex camp itself. While Meghan was reportedly keen to fight back against the allegations, Harry had allegedly been advised to refrain from engaging with what insiders described as low-level gossip. A source close to the couple revealed that it's distressing for Meghan, who wanted to shut down this woman's outrageous claims years ago. This tension between their approaches, Meghan's instinct to confront and Harry's royal-trained tendency to stay silent, was reportedly causing its own strain. Behind closed doors, the discord had already been building. A source told New Idea that tensions had flared when Meghan posted photos online from the family's private visit to Princess Diana's grave at Althorpe Estate, an intimate moment Harry had wished to keep away from public scrutiny. For those watching closely, it was not just a disagreement about privacy. It was a sign of deeper fractures in how the couple navigated their public and private lives. One insider noted, Harry's frustrations at her inability to understand how royals work have reached fever pitch. If this story surprised you, share it with someone who would enjoy uncovering forgotten Hollywood stories. And so the story arrives at the same crossroads where so many royal dramas have stalled before, caught between allegation and silence, between the hunger for truth and the refusal to engage. Lady C's revelations have ignited a firestorm, but they have also exposed something far more revealing than any single affair claim. The discord between Harry and Meghan over how to handle the rumors has laid bare the fundamental tension that has quietly defined their post-royal life. Harry, shaped by decades of royal protocol, reportedly refuses to engage in what insiders describe as low-level gossip. Meghan, meanwhile, is said to be ready to fight back, frustrated that Lady C continues to target their family with impunity. One insider described it plainly. It's distressing for Meghan, who wanted to shut down this woman's outrageous claims years ago. The timing could not have been worse. Just weeks before the allegations exploded, tensions had already flared when Meghan posted photos from the family's private visit to Princess Diana's grave at Althorpe Estate, a deeply personal moment Harry had wished to keep away from public scrutiny. Harry's frustrations at her inability to understand how royals work have reached fever pitch, one source revealed. Add to that the staggering financial blow of a $34 million legal bill from his privacy case against the Daily Mail's publishers, and the picture that emerges is one of a couple under siege from all directions. But perhaps the most unsettling observation came from Lady C herself, as she reflected on the parallels that history had drawn. Speaking on the Nerve podcast, she noted that Harry may now understand what his father experienced, what it's like to be trapped in an unhappy marriage and the comfort that one can find, especially living in the gilded cage in which he does live. The irony was not lost on anyone listening. The prince who had once condemned his father's choices was now, according to the claims, navigating remarkably similar waters. What remains unanswered, and what may never be answered, is the identity of the woman at the center of this storm. Lady C's source described her as someone Harry's age, in and around the environment of Montecito, which means probably of money, some power, discretion, understands all of that. Without proof, without confirmation, she remains a ghost, a figure glimpsed only in the margins of a story that may or may not be true. The question that lingers, the one that no insider can definitively answer, is this: if these allegations are baseless, why has the response been so fractured? Why has Harry chosen silence while Meghan burns to fight? And if there is truth buried beneath the speculation, what does it mean for a couple whose entire brand has been built on the narrative of unbreakable unity? That question, the one that hangs over Montecito, over the palace, over every headline and every denial, remains unanswered. Perhaps that is the point. Perhaps some secrets are never meant to be fully revealed. Or perhaps, as Lady C has suggested, the full story has not yet been told. If you enjoyed this documentary, like the video and subscribe for more true celebrity stories every week.